Yesterday we learned about right triangles, and we talked about Pythagorean theorem, 45, 45, 90, and 30, 60, 90 triangles. But what happens if I have a right triangle that's not 30, 60, 90? Or that I don't have two of the sides? What am I going to have to do instead? SOHCAHTOA. So that is going to be the title of this page name. Alright, so you can only do SOHCAHTOA with right triangles. So every triangle that you draw needs to have a 90-degree angle. And with this, I'm always going to label the angle C. My 90-degree angle is going to be C. And it does not matter, but I'm going to label this one A and this one B. If you were to switch them, it wouldn't be a big deal. Now, when labeling a triangle, your sides are going to correspond with your angles as far as the letters. Angles should always be capital letters. Your sides will always be lowercase. So, because angle C is right here, across from it is little c. Because angle B is up top, across from it will be side B, lowercase. And then angle A across from it is side A. Now, just like we talked about yesterday, this is still the hypotenuse. These are still legs. And I'm going to put a little theta right up top. So let's review. What is SOHCAHTOA mean? What is so? It is going to be the sine of theta, and we're going to do sine. What is the opposite of this theta? Oh, let's actually write it down first. Sine means what? Opposite over hypotenuse. So, what is the sine of this theta here? What letters am I going to have? What's opposite the theta? What's my hypotenuse? How do you find the cosine of something? Adjacent over hypotenuse. And just as a reminder, adjacent means next to. So this one is my adjacent. This is my opposite leg. Adjacent means next to, that's not the hypotenuse. So what is my cosine of theta here? What letters? A over C. Good. And I have two fans blowing in my ears, so y'all are going to speak a little louder because I can't hear. And last but not least is the tangent. What is tangent? TOA stands for opposite over adjacent. So what is the tangent of this theta? Say it again. Be careful. Opposite over adjacent. B over A. Do I have any questions so far? We okay? Now, that's something you know. None of that should be new. We learned that in geometry. Granted, it's been a while. But now I'm going to talk about the reciprocals. What does the word reciprocal mean? Louder? What does reciprocal mean? Say it louder. I can't hear. The top and bottom switch. So the reciprocal of sine is called cosecant. The reciprocal of sine. And to write cosecant, do y'all agree we're not going to write cos? Because that's cosine. So cosecant is CSC. Cosecant is going to switch the top and bottom of sine. So what is cosecant going to equal? Hypotenuse over opposite. So for this example, somebody already said it, it would be C over B. You are just flipping it. What about cosine? Anybody want to guess what the reciprocal of cosine is? Secant. So I always kind of memorize this as the C's go with the S's. A C has to go with an S. Your brain's going to want to tell you cosine, cosecant go together. No, the coses do not go together. One has a C, one has an S. One has a C, one has an S. And we are going to write this SEC. Sec. What does the secant of theta equal? How do we find it? Hypotenuse over adjacent. And in this case, that would be what? C over A. Last but not least, we have tangent. Anybody want to guess what the reciprocal of tangent is? They got really lazy. Cotangent. How do you think we abbreviate cotangent? Cot. And what is the reciprocal of tangent going to be? Adjacent over hypotenuse. Yeah, it is opposite. Just ignore me. I don't know. I thought I heard hypotenuse and just listened and went with it. And those are our reciprocals. What questions do I have? I want to make mistakes. They're all on purpose just to see if y'all are paying attention. We good? Alright, so let's do an example of that. Oh, let me put a theta there for you. Everybody add that theta in if you haven't already.
The call cannot be complete.
All right. What do I know just by looking at this example? What can I conclude? It's a 3, 4, 5 triangle. Do y'all agree with that? If you didn't know how to find this third side, what could you do? You could do Pythagorean theorem. But I'm trying to be nice. We have 3, we have 4. My hypotenuse is 5. Cool. By the way, What if this was 3 and this was 4? Would this side be 5? Why not? Because this would be the longest side. It couldn't be bigger than 4. So just make sure you do pay attention to where the numbers are. All right, so I know my hypotenuse is 4. What else do I know? What's my opposite? What's opposite of theta? And what's my adjacent? 3. Can I now fill in numbers here? So sine is what? So if you look up, if you're not sure, O over H. What is my opposite over my hypotenuse? 4 over 5. And that is my answer. You're just giving me ratios for this one. What is my cosine? What's cosine? Adjacent over hypotenuse, which is 3 over 5. And tan, TOA, opposite over adjacent, which is 4 over 3. Do I have any questions? Now that I have that, can I, without even looking at this picture, can I figure out the others? How? Just flip them. The hardest part about reciprocals, because I was really nice, I wrote the reciprocal right across from it, right? The hardest part about reciprocals is making sure you don't confuse these two when you're writing them down. Because I'm not always going to be nice. What? Goodness gracious, what am I doing today? Look, nope, it was on purpose. Okay, we're focusing now. Stop sharing your screen. Why? All right, any questions about ratios, setting them up? Are we okay with that? All right, so now we're going to start solving. Before we start solving, I do want to kind of do a side note, remind you / let you know of some things that I am going to require or I am going to do. First things first is rounding. When you're solving, you're going to either be solving for a side or an angle. Do y'all agree? So, if you are rounding for an angle, we are going to round to the 10th place. What does that mean? How many decimals is that? 1 decimal. Write that down if you forget that. If we are trying to find a side, we are going to round to the hundredths. Which is 2 decimals. Okay? The other thing I want to remind you about SOHCAHTOA is when you're solving. If the variable is the angle, for instance, if I'm trying to find theta right here, how do I get theta by itself? Y'all remember? How could I get theta by itself right here? How do I get rid of tangent? Say it louder. The inverse of tangent. If the you are going to do inverse. So if the variable is the angle, you're going to do inverse. And Desmos, you are just going to hit functions and go to, it's the second one up here. You're going to go to one of the inverses right here. Okay? Y'all have that on your computer? Y'all might not have all 6. That's okay, as long as you have these. Alright, what if the variable is in the numerator? Meaning, what if my variable is like the tangent of 20 is x over 5? My variable is in my numerator. How am I going to get x by itself? Or multiply. What if the variable is in the denominator? Tangent of 20 is 5 over x. What do we do if the variable is in the denominator? Anybody remember? How do we get x by itself here? Nobody? Nobody? We'll go over it in a second. We are going to switch them and divide. Do y'all remember your teachers doing that? Okay. I'm going to tell Miss Weimar. Miss Collins Hangs left. I'll text her too. I'm going to tell Miss Weimar. They didn't know. Switch and divide. So let's do an example where we have to do all of those things. This is going to be kind of what your homework looks like. If A equals 40 degrees and B equals 2, solve for the whole triangle. What am I going to have to do? Draw a picture. Let's draw a picture. So what did I tell you about the 90-degree angle? Let's put C with the 90-degree angle. I don't care where you put A and B. I'm going to put it like this, but if you were to switch it, it's still correct. And I'm going to put 40 degrees right there. And this B is 2 is what? Where is it? It's a side. How do we know it's a side? Because it's lowercase. And it's going to be across from the B. What's the easiest thing that's going to be to find first? Say it again. The last angle. How can I easily find angle B? They need to add up to 90. Do y'all agree a whole triangle adds up to 180? If that's 90, how do I find the other one? So I'm going to do 90 minus 40 is what? 50 degrees is my answer. So angle B is 50 degrees. How do I find side A? How do I find this side right here? You could use 50 or 40. I'm going to stick with 40 since that's what they gave us, but it doesn't matter which one you use. Using 40, how do I find side A? What do I have? I have opposite and adjacent. And when I have opposite and adjacent, what am I using? Tangent. So this is going to be the tangent of 40 is my opposite over my adjacent. How do I get A by itself? Multiply by 2. And what you do to one side? So this is what I want you to type in the calculator. However, before you do that, be careful. What do you got to do with trig? Degree mode. So can everybody please make sure your Desmos, hit the little wrench at the bottom, is in degree mode. Otherwise, you're going to get possibly a negative. Let's see what happens if I do that. Yeah, if you get a negative answer for a side, obviously a side can't be negative. You're probably just in the wrong mode. So what is my answer for this problem? $1.68. Why 68? Because it's a side, we need to go 2 decimal places. Alright, we done? What do I need to find now? Oh, box your answers, please. Now we got to find side C. Side C is my hypotenuse. I'm still going to use 40 and 2. I don't want to sit here and use that decimal. So if I use 40 and 2, what do I have here? Adjacent and hypotenuse is cosine. Adjacent over hypotenuse. Alright, look up real quick. You don't need to write this down, just look up. Do you agree I could put this over 1 and that would be equivalent? And then I could cross multiply and I would get C times cosine of 40 equals 2. And how do I get C by itself? I would divide by do y'all agree with that? You do not have to show all that work because that's going to happen every time. What do you notice happens to my cosine of 40 and my C? They switch. So I am perfectly fine with you just showing the arrows and you switched them. You don't have to show all the work I just did on this post-it. So what am I going to end up typing in my calculator? 2 divided by the cosine of 40. And what is 2 divided by the cosine of 40? What? 2.61 is my answer. Do I have any questions? We feeling okay? So coming back to us? Alright. I don't have any room on my page. You can keep going if you do. I'm going to flip over. Has everybody written that down? Alright. On the back we're going to do example. I think we have 2 more examples and then I'm done. Example 3. Oh man, I was supposed to tell y'all what it was. If A equals 3 and, B equals 2. I just started writing. If A equals 3 and B equals 2. I'm going to have to start using my erasable pens. I'm making too many mistakes. So where's the 3 going to go? Across from A. And the 2 is going to go on the bottom. Do y'all agree with that? What's going to be easiest to find this time? Say it again. The hypotenuse. Why? And so what can I do? I can just do Pythagorean theorem. So to find C, it's going to be C squared equals A squared. Y'all can just do that. Is my answer 13? What is my answer? Square root of 13. Don't give me a decimal, just leave it. Square root 13. Okay, what should we find next? Got to find one of the angles, A and B. Doesn't matter which one you find first. I'm going to do A, but it doesn't matter. How would I find angle A? What do I have in comparison to angle A right here? I have opposite and I have adjacent. Do you agree I don't have the hypotenuse? I mean, I know we have the hypotenuse, but do we want to use square root of 30? No. So I would use opposite and adjacent, which is what? Tangent. So the tangent of angle A is opposite over adjacent. How do I get A by itself? Louder? Louder? Not divide. Inverse. So the only way to get rid of a tangent is to, remember, inverse is the negative one. Y'all also used to call it arctan. Or, I mean, it is called arctan. Either one of those is fine. What you do to one side, I need to do to the other. So those tangents cancel out. And I'm left with the tan inverse of 3 over 2. And go put that in your calculator. You are going to want to hit functions to do that. What is my answer? 56.3. Only one decimal. Why? Angles. But this would still be wrong. Degrees. What questions can I answer? This is a quiet class. Last year my 6th period was crazy. 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 It was fun. How would I find angle B? How would I find this angle B up here? What's one thing I could do? Say it louder. Could I do the same thing tangent, except this time opposite would be 2, adjacent would be 3? Sure, same thing. Could I do something else? What? Yeah, hey, if I have 2 of the angles, can I find the third one easily? Both of those ways work. Honestly, calculator either way, or maybe not. So whichever way you want to do that, that's fine with me. So you can either do this tan of B like that, or you can subtract it from 90. Whichever way you want to do it. Either way, what do we get? 33.7 is wrong. Degrees. do I have any questions? Okay. Real quick, I'm going to talk about word problems because you might see word problems on your homework. Do y'all remember the words angle of elevation? Do y'all remember what that is? Or an angle of depression? Maybe not. Okay, here's an example that I'm going to do in just a second. But an example was a plane takes off from the airport at an angle of elevation of 20 degrees. And when it's 50 meters above the ground, how far has the plane traveled? Where would be the 20 degrees? From the ground to the diagonal, right? Okay, I also might say something like, you're on top of the Statue of Liberty and you're looking down at an angle of depression of 60 degrees. Where is my angle this time? So, I'm going to draw a picture on here. I want you to copy it just because I want you to know. Angle of depression is the one that people actually miss the most. But the key thing you need to know is an angle of elevation and an angle of depression both go with the horizontal line. Elevation goes up. And your angle of depression goes down. The problem is, like, look, if I'm at the Statue of Liberty and I'm looking down at an angle of 60 degrees, people tend to make this right here the angle of depression. It's not with a horizontal line. It's the one up here. So just be careful. Angle of depression, angle of elevation, they go with the horizontal line. Okay? What does anybody notice about these two angles? Why are they congruent? Because do y'all agree horizontal lines are parallel? Do y'all agree they're both straight, flat lines? Does anybody remember the type of angles these two angles are? Alternate interior angles. They're AIA. Do y'all remember learning? That was like literally 2 years ago. AIA, ring a bell? A little bit. They're alternate interior angles, and whenever you have parallel lines, alternate interior angles are congruent. So just letting you know. So let's do that example I just said. Last example today. You have a plane. There's my plane. And it takes off from the airport at an angle of elevation of 20 degrees. Where am I going to put the 20 degrees? Above it or below it? Why below? It has to be with a horizontal line. How far has the plane traveled if it's 50 meters in the air? The plane is 50 meters in the air. Where am I going to put my X? Hypotenuse. Alright, I'm going to give y'all a minute to solve that. Put it in your calculators. y'all agree that I gave you the opposite and the hypotenuse? What is opposite and hypotenuse? Sine. So what is my equation going to be? Sine of 20 is going to equal what? Opposite over hypotenuse. X is on the bottom. What am I going to do? Switch them and divide. Are y'all feeling a little bit more comfortable about this? And when you put that in the calculator, what do you get? What y'all get? 146.19 meters. Now for those of you that are coming from college algebra, when you had word problems, what did they make you do? Write in a complete sentence, right? I'm not going to make you do that. We're done. That's it. That's your answer. Alright, so, do I have any questions? Okay, your homework is due tomorrow. No, I'm not going to see you tomorrow. It's the weekend. Your homework is due on Monday. Please make sure you look at the calendar to see what is due, which numbers to do, but it is already in the homework tab. You have we're in Unit 0, Trig Review. And then it's both of these things. Y'all have about 5 minutes. You can get started or not. But this is due on Monday, your first grade of the year. All right. Thank y'all.